My husband and I don't have a large village of help. My mother lives just 15 minutes from us and is the only nearby family member who can help watch our two older boys, a 3-year-old and an almost 2-year-old. She rarely babysits for us, as we normally just use a sitter for date nights. But when she does, we only take the boys to her house. She is an extreme homebody and doesn't go anywhere but work and home. She's always been like this. When planning for the birth of our third child, our original plan was for my husband's mom to drive 2 hours to our house and stay as long as needed for us to be discharged from the hospital. Unfortunately, her mother's health declined quickly and she had to fly out of state to be with her. So I turned to my mom, who reassured me that she would be there for us whenever we needed her. We even talked about her doing overnights at our house, and she seemed okay with this. I was immensely surprised, but settled into the fact that my mom was going to be there for my toddlers. I should note that them going to her house wasn't an option because she doesn't have anywhere for the older child to sleep, and my younger one doesn't sleep well in a portable crib. My labor began at 9 p.m. on Wednesday, and my mom came right on over so we could head to the hospital. The next morning, she started texting me asking when my husband would be coming home. Because I gave birth in the middle of the night, and the earliest you can get released is 24 hours, that meant I wasn't going to be able to go home until Friday morning. She was saying, "I'm sorry, I'm dying here. I'll suffer through until he gets here." Since it's very important to my husband that he's here at the hospital with me and the baby, we managed to organize some alternative childcare. My husband is going back home at 6 p.m. to relieve my mom. Our amazing sweet babysitter is coming over at 10 p.m. to sleep over, so he can come back and be with me. But she has to leave for work in the morning, so he has to be back at home by 7 a.m. Then another family friend is able to get to our house at 10 a.m., so my husband can come back and pick us up at discharge. I know we're still lucky that we've managed to organize that much help. I just wish it didn't have to be so complicated. I have plenty of friends whose parents are so willing and even enjoy spending time helping out. I grieve for something I'll never experience. I am trying not to be too mad at my mom. It's just who she is as a person. I should be, and am, grateful for the help we've received from her. But it still hurts. I'm torn between leaving it alone because I know she won't ever change, or expressing my true thoughts and letting her know that I'm heartbroken over her saying she would be there for us and then changing her mind. To add, you guys, I'm done with strangers on the internet. Some of you were really helpful and actually answered my question. I appreciate you. The others, who meanly disagreed with me and downvoted my opinions and comments, I hope your sock rolls down in your shoe all day. Peace out. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I expect that this will make you second guess anytime she says she will do something outside of the norm for her. If an emergency happens and she says she'll stay with the boys, you'll wonder how long she'll really stay. You have a limited support network. So I would encourage you to tell your mom that you're disappointed she couldn't do what she said she would do. You have a brand new baby today. You don't want to be having these thoughts. You needed her support, and she let you down. You deserve to have that conversation with her. Comment 2. You're being very dramatic and ungrateful. A 2-year-old and a 3-year-old are so much to deal with, and the fact she handled them by herself for so long when that's already out of her comfort zone is awesome, supportive, and kind of her. The baby was born, and she expressed that she needs someone to take over because she was getting overwhelmed. That's very reasonable, and you're being very unreasonable. Congratulations on your baby. Hope you can see this more logically after the strong emotions pass. Now, for the update. I'm back with the rest of the story about the family drama with my mom and sister. So, a day after I got home from the hospital, my mom came over to meet the baby. I was so tired from everything, and I thought she'd help with my other 2 kids so I could rest. But nope. As usual, she showed up with nothing and lots of expectations. I mean, sure, she was coming to meet the baby, but like, a little something for the kids wouldn't hurt, right? Anyway, she spent most of her time holding the baby while talking about how tired I looked. I just had a baby. So yeah, I'm tired. She even said this was why she didn't want to help out too much. I was just like, thanks, Mom, for always being so helpful. She left and said she'd come back next Sunday to help more. Spoiler, she didn't. Last Wednesday, my husband wanted to do a little family dinner to celebrate the new baby. We were just going to do a small thing with our kids and my mom. I invited my mom, and she said she'd be there. But then the next day, she texted me and said she caught a cold. I was so annoyed, and my husband was like, how about we ask my sister to come over? I was like, I don't want to. But he was like, we need the help, and I was like, fine, whatever. So I texted his sister, and she said she'd come over. I was hesitant, though, because my husband has a pretty complicated relationship with his family, so I knew it would be awkward. His sister showed up with some gifts for the baby, which was nice, but there was also a ton of tension from past family issues. She made comments about how she hopes we appreciate her coming over on such short notice, which was just so passive-aggressive. Then we sat down to eat, and she started making jokes about how family dinners used to be so tense, and I just sat there like, seriously? Over dinner, she started talking about parenting styles and how she thinks I'm overreacting to stress. I lost it. I started telling her that she's not the one at home with the kids, and she has no idea what I'm going through. My husband was just sitting there awkwardly, not saying a word. After she left, I was just so upset. I felt like no one in my family cared about me, and I was venting to my husband, who was just like, they're just trying to help. And I was like, yeah, well, their help sucks. The next day, my mom called me and said she was feeling better and wanted to visit. She came over and brought a casserole, which was nice, but I was still irritated with her. We were talking about my kids, and in the middle of it, she just casually mentioned that she had plans for the weekend. I was like, what? You just said you were sick and couldn't help out. She was like, yeah, but I had already committed to these plans, and I was just like, whatever. Later that week, I got a text from her with an invitation to a family wedding. She said she was planning on going, but wouldn't be able to babysit that weekend. I was just like, of course not. So that weekend, I stayed home, feeling all sorts of angry and resigned, while she was out there partying it up. That evening, she called me from the wedding to say how much fun she was having. I was just like, wow, thanks for the update. A few days later, my husband suggested we go out as a family and do something together to connect more. We decided to go to a local pumpkin patch. We were just hoping to have a good time and ease some of the tension. We had a good time and took pictures, so at least something was going well. So we're at the pumpkin patch, and guess who shows up out of nowhere? My mom, with her own friends. She was like, oh, what a coincidence. And I was like, She introduced her friends to my husband and I, but she didn't even acknowledge the fact that I was annoyed with her. It was super awkward. My husband and I were just like, yeah, we're gonna head home soon. A week later, I got a message from my sister about a family gathering. I was like, I don't really want to go, but I was hoping it might bridge the gap a little. So I agreed to go. It was just the same old thing though. Old family disputes resurfacing. My sister and mom clashed over past grievances, and I was just sitting there like, seriously? Then my mom stormed out after a heated exchange, and I was just like, great, this is just great. So that's where I'm at right now, just trying to deal with this family drama and hoping it gets better. To answer a few questions, my mom's absence at the wedding affected my husband and me. We felt unimportant. My sister has issues with my mom. We clash over expectations and support, which causes tension. Am I the idiot for refusing to be my boyfriend's ATM and choosing my own happiness instead? We have been together for 2 years. We've decided we want to move in together at the beginning of next year. He wants me to pay the rent and all the bills, utilities, electricity, internet, and he only pays for groceries. He makes more than I do, but has more expenses than I do, so I technically end up with more spending and savings money than he does. I think this would make sense if we were married and truly combined our income, but it's just our first time living together. Even though I have fewer expenses, it still seems unfair that I would pay about $1,400 to live there, and he would only pay $350 for groceries. He also says I should still set aside about $200 for groceries too, so we can buy better quality food. To me, it seems he just can't afford to move at all then. He currently still lives with his dad, where he pays no rent or bills. His biggest expenses are his car payment and a loan to pay off from fixing his car, and he spends about $80 a week on gas. But he insists it makes sense for me to pay that much since we're a team. But I just have a bad feeling about it. The ratio is just so big, it seems like I'd be better off just moving into a bigger apartment by myself or just staying in the one I have already, where my expenses are nearly half of that. Is this truly fair? Is it really a good idea for me to do this? Now for an update. Thanks everyone for your responses and giving me validation. I definitely have a lot of clarity now, and I assure you this is real and actually happening. I decided to tell him these concerns directly again. He was annoyed with me and went on about how I'm overthinking and that I don't love him if money matters this much to me. I even brought up the situation of it being just a roommate. Would that be fair to him? He literally told me he had roommates before, where they paid that unfairly. I told him someone was getting screwed over. He's just disregarding everything and acting like he is absolutely right about it all. This, honestly, is really heartbreaking to me, because otherwise he has treated me well. He didn't change his stance at all, besides just saying that he wished it wasn't this way, and that if he had more money, he would pay for the majority of everything. He keeps telling me he's willing to do anything to be with me, and that's why he's so upset that I won't agree to this. He says the advantage is just the fact that we will be together. Of course, I want to be with the person I love, but it doesn't override that it doesn't make sense and he can't afford it. I don't think I will be moving in with him. I don't know if our relationship will last after talking about this. I really wish we could find a way to work it out. Also, I agree that he absolutely has to be hiding other expenses because it does not add up that he only can afford $350. He told me he could afford $350 and still have $500 left for spending. So actually, he wants to ensure that he still has spending money for himself instead of making it fair. He wanted us to combine our leftover spending money. I feel like he tried to manipulate my emotions so much in this situation, and it's hard accepting that someone you trusted and had so much love for would resort to that. Like, just be honest and have respect for me that I'm even thinking of this seriously at all. Overall, I won't be moving in with him anytime soon, but I am now pretty heartbroken and have to think things over with him in general. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, he lives rent-free and bill-free, but has more expenses than you? He had to take out a loan to fix his car? What? Do you really want to continue in a relationship with someone whose finances are already this messed up? It genuinely sounds like he wants to copy and paste his arrangement with his dad over to you so that he has someone in-house to be intimate with when he feels like it. Comment 2. Didn't TLC have a hit song about avoiding hobosexuals? Maybe you should have Alexa cue this song up while you're relaxing with your soon-to-be ex, and you can sing along. A scrub is a guy that thinks he's fly and is also known as a busta, always talking about what he wants and just sits on his broke butt. Now, for the update. I'm back with another update. It's been a month since I decided not to move in with my boyfriend. And honestly, I didn't think things would get this bad. He has been super distant since that convo about money. Like, I get it was a tough convo, but not talking to me for days? Ugh. So my parents invited me to Thanksgiving dinner. They wanted to have it at their house. Super excited about that, T-Bahai. My boyfriend was invited too, but he didn't respond for days. Like, okay, we're not living together, but you could at least respond? So, I decided to go to the dinner alone. During dinner, my parents were talking about how excited they were about my brother's recent engagement. The vibe was just so warm, filled with laughter and stories about family traditions. Made me miss being home more often, you know? My dad even mentioned how he and my mom split money when they first got married. I think he could see I was struggling with that because I kinda zoned out for a sec. Then, out of nowhere, my boyfriend texted me saying he couldn't make it to dinner because of work. Seriously? After dinner, I checked my phone and saw a bunch of missed calls from him. I called him back, but he didn't answer, just ghosted me for like the rest of the night. The next day, though, I noticed he was active on social media. I saw he posted pictures from a friend's party that night. It upset me so much. Like, really? You can't come to dinner but can post on social media? I confronted him about his absence at dinner, and he just brushed it off, saying he was busy and had a good time with friends. Really making an effort to prioritize me, huh? A week later, we met up for coffee to talk about our relationship. I thought maybe we could work things out. Yeah, I was still naive at that point. During the coffee meet, I brought up the money split again. He just accused me of being controlling and not trusting him. Like, dude, I'm just trying to have an adult convo here. He left abruptly, saying he needed space. I was so confused and honestly a little hurt. The following weekend, my sister invited me to a holiday event, which I was super grateful for. At the event, I ran into a mutual friend of mine and my boyfriend, and the friend mentioned how my boyfriend had been bragging about his new gaming setup. What? A few days later, I saw my boyfriend at a local bar with a group of friends. He didn't notice me at first, and I watched him laugh and flirt with someone else. I was just sitting there, feeling like such a fool. I took photos of him at the bar with the other person. Not my proudest moment, but I needed to know. Later that night, he texted me saying he missed me. Instead of responding positively, I sent him the photos with a simple, "Really?" He called me immediately, sounding defensive and confused. I laid out everything I knew, including his spending habits and priorities. Like, dude, it's not that hard to understand. You earn more but want to contribute less? His tone shifted from defensive to angry, claiming I was spying on him. I told him his actions were louder than words. We got into a massive fight and he ended up hanging up on me, so I decided to block him on all platforms to avoid any more drama. It was just getting too much. I spent the next few days focusing on myself and my interests. It felt good to do stuff for me again. I started painting again, and I even picked up some new recipes. Who knew cooking could be so therapeutic? Edit. It's been a few days since I blocked my ex. Honestly, it was the best decision I made. I reconnected with my friends, and they were so supportive. We went to a concert together, and it felt great to just enjoy life. I also started journaling, which has helped me process everything. I'm not perfect, but I'm getting there. I've decided to focus on myself right now, and I'm looking into a potential job opportunity in another city. Just need a fresh start. Am I the idiot for questioning my marriage after my husband cuddled another woman while I was recovering from surgery? Last month, my husband of 4 years went to a work conference. He's a couples therapist. While I was 10 days post-operative from endometriosis surgery and came back to tell me he went to coffee and cuddled, he demonstrated on me with another couples therapist from the conference. He initially dismissed my feelings about it, saying that it's not a big deal, and he's proud of himself for stopping at cuddling. After several days of back and forth, he finally started to feel bad and decided he needed to make it up to me. He has apologized and started to be more proactive about things in the relationship. Here's the thing. Before this, I've felt for some time that I am the writer, producer, director, and actor within our lives, and he has just been barely an actor. We bought a house together, and I did most of the renovations myself while balancing my PhD. He has just been passive and careless, and this betrayal is evidence of his carelessness. An example of his carelessness is that he forgot about our first fertility clinic appointment, despite me reminding him twice in the weeks leading up to it. He says he really wants kids, but he does not actively pursue it, nor does he actively pursue anything related to us. Even after the endometriosis surgery, he barely noticed I was in pain after maybe getting me tea and soup for the first 3 days. So this cuddling incident while I was post-operative has been the straw that broke the camel's back, and I feel like I no longer even want to work on this marriage. But he's trying now, and I believe underneath it all, he's a good person. He's very gentle and soft-spoken. He's involved in our community. He's never yelled at me, and he knows I like peonies. He makes me coffee on some mornings, and he makes dinner every so often. He even helped me pay for my car. Since this incident, he has expressed a lot of emotion. Usually, I have to coax emotion out of him. He has been checking on my pain levels daily because I called him out on his lack of care. He booked me a week-long writer's retreat so I can work on my dissertation and packed me a care package. He has made a couple of date plans. He paid a parking ticket of mine without asking. Still, there's something missing. He's just not it. I am no longer attracted to him, and I feel like I do not want to connect with him. I ask him where he'd like to live after I graduate. He says he hasn't thought about it. He doesn't think much at all. He doesn't challenge me. He doesn't inspire me. I'm not sure if this is just me thinking that the grass is greener on the other side type of situation, or if this situation is genuinely bad. I'm tired, and sometimes I don't even like him anymore. My gut feeling is to leave, but I feel too scared and guilty. Maybe he will continue this streak of trying. We are in couples therapy, so maybe things will get better. I don't know what to do, and I'd feel guilty leaving him because now he's become aware of all his flaws and he's working on them. I feel so bad for him having to start over at 36 because he supported me through my PhD. I feel so guilty. Is this bad enough to leave? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You should try dealing with the codependent nature of this relationship first. Maybe. I used to feel that way about my ex. I felt like I was the only person in the relationship. I did everything by myself and alone. We were high school sweethearts, so we supported each other in various ways. At the end of the day, the relationship was just not right, and feeling guilty and ashamed of not being there for him anymore was not enough of a reason to want to try. He will be okay. Will you, though, if you stay? Comment 2. Men will often pull out all the stops in the 11th hour, showing up with energy and action because you're scared to lose the status quo, lose the person who runs your entire life. That's desperation. He's had so much time to do better, especially as a couples therapist. I am one also. He knows better. I'm so sorry, but no. You put up with his nonsense for long enough and deserve a relationship where you are chosen, prioritized, and taken care of from the start. Now for the update. Here's the update you've all been waiting for. I know it's been a while, and I can't say much has changed, but here goes. My husband has been making a consistent effort to be more involved around the house. I gotta admit, it's been nice. He knows he was slacking hard, and honestly, it felt like I was doing everything while he just floated around. He surprised me with dinner one night, cooking my favorite meal and even setting the table nicely. I was like, whoa, did I marry a chef? Where did this come from? But then, during dinner, he casually mentioned a colleague he had lunch with, and just like that, all the good vibes faded. I couldn't help but feel that familiar discomfort creeping back in. The dude just doesn't get it. The next weekend, we went to a family birthday party for my niece, and let me tell you, the atmosphere was full of unspoken stuff. At the party, he was glued to his phone, checking messages, responding to work emails, you name it. It felt like I was there with a ghost. My sister-in-law made some comments about how she admired couples who were truly committed, and I was just like, wow, thanks for the reminder. Super uncomfortable, you know? After the party, I finally confronted him about his phone use. I told him it felt disrespectful, like, dude, can you put the phone down for an hour? He just shrugged it off, saying he needed to stay on top of work. And that's when things escalated. We ended up having a full-on argument in the car. So we decided to go to couples therapy again, hoping to address the growing rift. During therapy, I brought up my concerns about our lack of connection and intimacy. I mean, what else am I supposed to do? His response was defensive, though. He mentioned how busy he was and how he felt all this pressure from my PhD commitments. It's like, bro, I'm not the one making us feel distant. A few days later, he forgot our second fertility clinic appointment. I was just like, are you kidding me? This feels like a huge setback. He apologized a lot, promising to make it up to me. But honestly, I'm just exhausted from this constant cycle of trying to get him to care. Later that week, we attended a holiday gathering at my parents' house for Thanksgiving. You know how family gatherings can be, right? During dinner, my dad casually asked about our plans for kids, and the silence was intense. My husband tried to change the subject, but the tension was obvious. You could cut it with a knife. The trip ended with us arguing about our future, and I finally revealed my doubts about us staying together. It was hard to say that out loud. On the drive back home, he suggested we take a break to think things through, and I was just shocked. Like, really? After all this, you want to hit pause? When we got home, I found a letter from him on the kitchen counter. In it, he expressed his love, but mentioned needing space to figure out what he wanted. I didn't know what to think. I met with my therapist alone the following week to discuss my feelings about the break. She's been a lifesaver through all of this. At the end of that week, he came back and we had this long talk about our needs. It was emotional. We decided to take a break, but we agreed to continue therapy separately and together. It's been rough since then. There's this obvious tension between us. And even though we're trying to make it work, it feels like we're just going through the motions. We agreed to meet again next month to reassess where we stand. I don't know what the future holds, but at least we're trying something, right? Edit. Many asked about the break, so here's more context. We agreed to live separately, but still meet for therapy. It was tough at first. Being alone made me realize how much I missed his company, but the tension was still there. We are both attending individual therapy to work on our personal issues. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.